Hello there, good evening. 30 minutes of non-stop news of the day's developments in India and across the world. That's News Tonight for you. I'm Tracy Shilchi and let's start with the headlines. The BJP cornered from all sides on the land acquisition ordinance. Ally Shiv Sena joins opposition worries of the ordinance being anti-farmer. BJP assures it will hold consultations with all parties. Signals of a Kejriwal-Anna reconciliation. The Delhi Chief Minister leads all his 66 legislators to join Anna Hazare's agitation against the land acquisition ordinance in the capital. BJP and PDP sign a deal on a common minimum program to form a government finally in Jammu and Kashmir. Mufti Saeed likely to take oath on Sunday. Russian President Vladimir Putin says war with Ukraine is unlikely even as the ceasefire falters, with both sides refusing to pull out heavy weapons. And West Indies' Chris Gayle slams the World Cup's first ever double ton. Multiple records are shattered as the Caribbeans thrash Zimbabwe. The top story, the government today introduced the Land Acquisition Amendment Bill in the Lok Sabha despite opposition uproar. In response, opposition parties walked out of the House accusing the government of being anti-farmer and anti-poor. The BJP reiterated that it was ready to discuss the issue thoroughly, though the going looks tough with ally Shiv Sena as well voicing concerns.
This was perhaps the first time in the 16th Lok Sabha that the opposition stood as one against the government. But amid the uproar, Rural Development Minister Birendra Singh introduced the Land Acquisition Amendment Bill in the House.
Madam, I beg to move for leave to introduce the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement Amendment Bill 2015.
Opposing this, MPs of the Congress, left parties, Samajwadi Party, TRS, YSR Congress, BJD, Trinamool Congress and even the government's ally, the Swabhimani Shetkari Sangathan walked out of the House. The opposition claims this bill is anti-farmer and anti-poor.
तो ये जो एटीट्यूड है गवर्नमेंट का बुलडोज करने का, इसके खिलाफ आज किसान जो किसान वहाँ पर बहुत ये कर रहा है और किसान विरोधी बिल है और आज बाहर भी एजिटेशन चल रहा है, हर जगह एजिटेशन चल रहा है। ये उनका एटीट्यूड ठीक नहीं है, इसीलिए हम वॉकआउट करते हैं।
Then under Rule 72(1)
ऑर्डिनेंस को ये करना है,
I oppose the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement amendment bill 2015. This is the most anti-farmer, anti-poor legislation possible.
किसान इस देश को मजबूत बनाता है, हमें रोटी देता है। वो किसान की जमीन छीन कर उसकी मर्जी के बगैर हम ये भूमि अधिग्रहण कानून को समर्थन नहीं दे सकते। अगर किसान चाहता है अपनी मर्जी से तो उसके ऊपर चर्चा हो सकती है।
Amending the bill, the government had brought an ordinance in which 5 more projects were exempt from the application of the bill. These include industrial corridors, PPP projects, rural infrastructure, affordable housing and the defence sector. The opposition argues that the passing of this version of the bill defeats the purpose of the original act.
There are two major issues that we are opposed to. The first major issue is the consent clause is being compromised. The consent clause giving the right to the landowners, to the farmers, at least 70% of the people who are supposed to give consent, then only the land was supposed to be acquired, that is being withdrawn.
The government in turn says it is ready to take into account the suggestions of the opposition. It has also accused the opposition of insulting the majority.
इसमें कोई किसी का कोई आपत्ति आई तो बहस के दौरान चर्चा करने के लिए सरकार तैयार है, मगर आरोप करना, राजनीति करना ये देश के हित में नहीं है, किसान के हित में नहीं है। हमारा सरकार किसान के हित को सबसे ज्यादा प्राथमिकता देने वाले है। ये सरकार किसान अनुकूल सरकार है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told the BJP that there is no need to back off on the process on the proposed amendments. But in the same breath, He also said that the opposition's suggestions should be taken into account. The party has now formed an internal committee to create a strategy to tackle the issue. It's clear that the BJP is on the back foot on the land acquisition issue. Shyam Sundar's report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, a united opposition also cornered the government in the upper house on the ordinance promulgated to amend land acquisition rules. Non-NDA parties in the house labelled the ordinance as anti-farmer.
Soon after obituary references and listed papers laid on the table in the Rajya Sabha, Congress's Anand Sharma raised the land acquisition bill.
Question is not of whether the ordinance has been issued.
Sharma slammed the government for taking the ordinance route, saying changes were being made to a law passed in 2013. The move, he said, violated a consensus between all parties at the time, including the BJP.
It has to be withdrawn. As of today, the law which was there, passed by both the houses of parliament, has been arbitrarily changed against the interest of the farmers, against the interest of the poor.
Finance Minister and Leader of the House Arun Jaitley stepped up in defence, pointing out the number of ordinances issued by previous governments. He rejected the anti-farmer jibe, claiming the amendment in fact benefited that section.
हमने हर कानून में उन 13 में भी जो अलग रखा था, ये कहा कि 4 गुना मुआवजा किसान को दिया जाए। हर एक जो अपवाद रखा है, उन पुराने 13 जो अपवाद यूपीए ने रखे थे उसके साथ, उससे ग्रामीण क्षेत्र को लाभ होने वाला है।
But the opposition were buying none of it. The opposition that's in a bigger majority here than in the Lok Sabha has lined up against the government's land ordinance. Cutting across party lines, leaders targeted the government on provisions of the land ordinance, even calling it a retrograde measure harking back to British rule.
ऐसा बदला कि अंग्रेजों का कानून के पीछे छूट गया। 120 बरस बाद हिंदुस्तान के किसानों का खेत और खलियान लेने का जो मामला है, इनके पास मैसिव मेजॉरिटी हो गई है, तो ये बुलडोजर कुचलना चाहते हैं देश को।
उस भूमि अधिग्रहण विधेयक में तो जो किसानों के हित में जो शर्तें रखी गई थी, तो लेकिन दुख की बात यह है कि उन शर्तों को इस सरकार में तो उल्टा कर दिया गया।
बात करके उस पे भी बात करके रास्ता निकाला जा सकता था, लेकिन आपने उसको बाईपास किया।
Responding to objections raised by members, the finance minister promised discussions and consultations with all political parties on this issue.
Responding in the same spirit, I will convey his suggestion in a very positive manner to the minister concerned for appropriate action, where he suggested that the government must have discussions with all the concerned parties. I'll certainly convey.
All right.
The Congress has called for the ordinance to be suspended till consultations with all parties are complete. The government has held back on any such promise. In the Lok Sabha, the opposition staged a walkout. Opposition parties also staged protests outside Parliament. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
And protests against the land acquisition bill have not just rocked Parliament, also the streets of the national capital. Hundreds of farmers joined activist Anna Hazare's agitation at the Jantar Mantar, demanding that the government should withdraw the ordinance. A host of political leaders, including current Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, shared the dais with Anna today.
Pressure is mounting on the government to withdraw its controversial land acquisition bill. Besides facing a united opposition in both houses of Parliament, it's facing flack from activists and farmer unions who are camping in Delhi. Anti-corruption activist Anna Hazare is leading the agitation against the government, warning that he won't relent until the new bill is scrapped.
ये सरकार अध्यादेश को वापस नहीं लेती है। हम आज जाकर, ये तो अब हर बार करते हैं, पद यात्रा निकालते हैं, लोगों को जगाते हैं, सभा करते हैं। अभी जाने के बाद लोगों को जगाने के लिए पद यात्रा निकालनी है गांव-गांव में।
Several political leaders cutting across party lines have lent their support to Anna Hazare. Former Team Anna member and current Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal joined Hazare along with his party's 66 new Delhi MLAs.
इन लोगों से जनता को उम्मीद थी कि कुछ करेंगे, लेकिन दोस्तों इन्होंने तो कांग्रेस के कानून को भी संशोधन करके ऐसा कानून लेके आए हैं कि अब ये भी सरकार प्रॉपर्टी डीलर का काम करेगी बड़े बड़े उद्योगपतियों के लिए।
The BJP is reaching out to the farmers. Party President Amit Shah has set up an 8-member committee that will seek suggestions on the new bill. Several farmers' organizations have voiced serious concerns on the proposed amendments, stating that they will harm farmers' interests. With Vipin Chauhan in New Delhi, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
That a quick break here, but coming up, our special series on expectations from the union budget. Today we focus on the future of the Manrega scheme.
Hottest topics.
If you can facilitate the opening up of the expansion of the international border trade, you can add to the economy.
370 धारा जो है वो जम्मू कश्मीर को मुल्क के साथ जोड़े रखती है।
Candid confessions.
The Congress has not been able to communicate.
We have to revive our links with the masses.
World-class healthcare is available to only a handful of people in this country.
Causing controversies.
A lot of leaders today think that they rule by divine right.
Now, media has become manageable.
Watch RSTV engage personalities to the point. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Thursday, 1:30 and 5:30 p.m.
Welcome back to the news tonight. On to some politics now. In ending days of talks and speculation, the BJP and the PDP formally announced forming a coalition government in Jammu and Kashmir. The announcement was made after a meeting between the BJP President Amit Shah and the PDP's Mehbooba Mufti. The new government, led by PDP Chief Mufti Muhammad Saeed, is likely to be sworn in on the 1st of March.
More than 2 months after the state election results, Jammu and Kashmir is set to have a PDP-BJP government in place. Both parties sealed the deal on Tuesday evening, ending weeks of deliberations.
काफी चर्चा के बाद, काफी बैठकों के दौर के बाद एक कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम पर करीब सहमति हुई है और कुछ ही दिन में जम्मू कश्मीर को PDP-BJP अलायंस की पॉपुलर गवर्नमेंट मिलेगी।
The announcement came soon after Amit Shah and Mehbooba Mufti met in New Delhi to give final touches to the Common Minimum Program. Mufti termed the CMP as the agenda for alliance between both parties.
ये जो सरकार बनेगी ये खाली पावर शेयरिंग की बात नहीं है। It is about to win the hearts and minds of the people of Jammu and Kashmir और पूरे मुल्क को इसमें एक मौका है, एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है पूरे मुल्क के कि जो जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों में जो दूरियां हैं आपस में उसको मिटा के एक अच्छी, एक साफ सुथरी, करप्शन से साफ डेवलपमेंट के और पूरा जिससे पूरे इस स्टेट में, पूरे मुल्क में, पूरे खिते में शांति हो, ऐसी सरकार बनाने की हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं।
Details of the Common Minimum Program, on the basis of which J&K will be governed, will be made public after PDP Chief Mufti Muhammad Saeed meets Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a day or two. But reports suggest that both sides have agreed to form a committee to go into the AFSPA issue and suggest areas where it can be revoked. AFSPA and Article 370 are two issues over which both parties have diametrically opposite views.
PDP and BJP are ideologically opposites, and they are like oil and water. So I don't really think they can mix well or mix at all. And I think that will have an impact, a negative impact on governance in J&K.
The new government in Jammu and Kashmir is likely to be sworn in on 1st March. PDP patron Mufti Muhammad Saeed will be Chief Minister for the second time. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In more national news, Delhi police arrested one more person in the Petroleum Ministry leak case that was unearthed last week. A casual worker employed at the Defence Ministry was arrested for allegedly providing a forged identity card and official letterhead to a key accused in the case. However, police clarified that no sensitive documents were leaked or stolen from the Defence Ministry. 13 people have so far been arrested in the corporate espionage case related to the Petroleum Ministry, and one person has been arrested on charges of leaking documents from the Coal and Power Ministries. The case had broken last week, with the 5 accused being arrested red-handed outside the Petroleum Ministry office in central Delhi.
वीरेंद्र कुमार, शायद वीरेंद्र, ये एक कैजुअल एम्प्लॉई है जो AAO यानी कि ऑडिट अकाउंट्स ऑफिसर मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस उसके ऑफिस में काम करता है। ही इज़ ए कैजुअल एम्प्लॉय, 2010 से ये काम कर रहा है। ये मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस के बाहर जो हटमेंट्स हैं, एल ब्लॉक हटमेंट्स, उसमें ये कहीं काम करता है। इसको गिरफ्तार किया है। इसने जो है ही इज़ पार्ट ऑफ द कॉन्स्पिरेसी, तो उस चार्ज पे इसको गिरफ्तार किया गया है।
Now latest on the swine flu situation across the country. The government today said that 841 people have died and the number of those affected has crossed 14,500. Speaking in the Rajya Sabha, Health Minister JP Nadda, however, assured that no efforts will be spared in effectively dealing with the situation. He said that the oseltamivir drug used during the pandemic in 2009-2010 remains effective for treatment even now. The deadly virus has pushed up the death toll rapidly in the last 2 months, with at least 35 more casualties reported in the last 24 hours.
I would assure the member and all the members that we are increasing our capacity so that the testing facilities are made more meaningful, and see to it that spurious drugs are brought under control.
In other news, R.K. Pachauri today resigned as chairman of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC. He has been accused of sexual harassment by a woman employee in his office. 74-year-old Pachauri was granted interim protection from arrest till the 26th of February by a Delhi court on Monday. Vice Chairman Ismail El Ghizoli has now been made in charge of IPCC for the time being. Now, in the countdown for Budget 2015, UPA's flagship scheme, Manrega, is one of the hot topics under debate. Not only are questions being raised over prospective budget cuts, but economists are warning that undermining the scheme itself could damage economic revival itself.
At a time when the NDA government says it wants to focus on rural development, there's growing concern for one of the flagship schemes of the previous UPA government. To recap, this is what the finance minister said about it in his interim budget last year.
The government is committed to provide wage and self-employment opportunities in rural areas. However, wage employment would be provided under the Manrega through works that are more productive, asset creating, substantially linked to agriculture and allied activities.
Despite Jaitley's promises on Manrega, 9 months after the Modi government took charge, there's growing concern of an impending budget cut for the world's first of its kind scheme. One that benefited rural India, especially the women and marginalized sections.
So certainly we are hoping that the NREGA budget will go back to that 54,000 level, perhaps even more. Just to put this number in perspective, it sounds like a very big number, but 33,000 crores is just 0.3% of the GDP, and this is 1/3 of 1% of GDP, which is providing employment to 25% of the rural population. So I think it's only fair that the budget for this program should increase.
Moving up from around 11,000 crore rupees in 2006-07 to 40,000 crore rupees in 2009-10. The allocation for Manrega stabilized at around 33,000 crore rupees. Current allocations are 34,000 crore rupees.
Actually, Manrega suffers from a design flaw. It concentrates on giving employment but does not monitor assets. We need to have labor-intensive employment-giving programs. For instance, we need to have programs which will improve drought, which will sort of improve productivity in agriculture through drought proofing by constructing new ponds or tanks or through afforestation. But all these assets must be measured. That is also not happening.
The 2015-16 budget comes at a time when the scheme is already under review. Over 70% wages are delayed. Less than 3% households have completing the promised 100 days of work.
I will get the work and I'll also get the wages. So what these low allocations are doing is both that work is not really being offered on demand as in the way that the law requires, but also that the work that people manage to do, if they don't get paid for months, then the whole purpose of Narega gets vitiated.
Launched in 2006, the UPA government scheme is witnessing uncertain times. The new government is being accused of squeezing its funds in the upcoming budget. But irrespective of budget allocations, the scheme does drive demand and legally guarantees a registered household to get 100 days of work. Experts say any cut in this will mean the government is neglecting its legal responsibility, besides putting the livelihood security of millions at risk. Anshu J. Singh, Rajya Sabha TV.
And up ahead, international news. Greece submits a list of reform proposals to its European and IMF creditors in the hope of securing further lending.
Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira.
Barack Obama has been elected on the basis that I will no longer take America into wars, and in fact quite the opposite, I will pull America out of wars.
According to the Indian government, fishermen are not at fault.
The US intervention in Iraq set the stage for exacerbation of these conflicts, and then the intervention in Syria.
Watch World Panorama at these times on Rajya Sabha television.
A new government in New Delhi. New faces.
People are not investing because they are scared of your tax administration.
New thinking.
The auction process is a fair and good process.
You cannot have a one-size-fits-all reform policy.
For insights and perspective.
Judiciary should be more concerned about corruption within itself. The Modi government slogan of "Achhe din aane wale hain." Soon the people's slogan will be "Hamare purane din lauta do."
The biggest show on economic policy. Watch State of the Economy. There were three great imperial darbars in India. The third darbar was the most significant one. It was the coronation darbar of 1911, when King George V and Queen Mary were present in person to preside over the ceremonies and receive tributes.
Welcome back. Some international news now. And despite worries in the global community, Russian President Vladimir Putin says that war with Ukraine is unlikely. This just the day after Ukraine expressed their unwillingness to pull out heavy weapons as rebels continued shelling. Russia has been cornered from all sides on its alleged involvement in escalating the crisis, but Putin repeated denials.
The Russian president chose to play it safe for now, reiterating that a war with Ukraine might be apocalyptic but unlikely. And he says the way to peace in Ukraine is clear. The deal struck in Minsk has to be fully implemented.
Я думаю, что такой апокалиптический сценарий вряд ли возможен. И надеюсь, что до этого никогда не дойдет. Это уже совсем другая история, как говорится. И я очень рассчитываю на то, что это будет исполняться. А если это будет исполняться, то это верный путь к нормализации ситуации.
Foreign ministers from Ukraine, Russia, France and Germany are meeting in Paris on Tuesday to discuss the ceasefire. On Monday, foreign ministers from both Ukraine and Russia met UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon at the UN headquarters to discuss the crisis in Ukraine. Britain has warned of more sanctions on Russia.
Russia must be in no doubt that any attempts by the separatists to expand their territory, whether towards Mariupol or elsewhere, will be met with further significant EU and US sanctions. Russia must change course now, or the economic pain it endures will only increase. In the coming days, I'll be speaking to fellow G7 leaders to agree how we can together ensure that the Minsk agreements do indeed bring an end to this crisis.
On the ground, there is little to show any respite in fighting. Separatists continue to shell government positions in the port city of Mariupol, and the ceasefire almost seems one in name only. Ukrainian troops say they will begin withdrawal of heavy weapons only on orders from Kyiv, which will happen only if rebels stop firing. It's a stalemate for now. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, as the 28th February deadline for the Greek bailout nears, the Greek Prime Minister today submitted a list of reform proposals to creditors. Greece gave the plans to European institutions and the IMF around the midnight deadline. The European Commission says the list is sufficient to be a starting point for bailout talks. The measures include combating tax evasion and tackling smuggling of fuel and tobacco, but aspects of the plan that require new social spending may well be sticking points with creditors. Greece is seeking approval from international creditors to secure a 4-month loan extension.
Previous government had promised certain steps, and now the government will say we will be even tougher. We will be less forgiving on tax cheaters. We will increase perhaps the penalties. We will hire some more people to do tax inspections. We will pass a few laws, maybe increasing the penalties of those who pay late. Nobody knows what the effect will be in the end, and therefore one should not expect numbers now, more or less good intentions, and that is what matters right now for the Eurogroup.
And now let's get you all the other international news and updates in Global Buzz. The US and India have voiced concern at former Maldives President Mohammad Nasheed being forcibly dragged into court to face terrorism charges and being denied legal access and medical treatment. Nasheed, who was ousted 3 years ago, was denied bail in a brief hearing on Monday after being arrested on what critics have termed trumped-up charges designed to shut down growing opposition to the government of President Abdullah Yameen. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday hailed the verdict of a New York court which found the Palestinian leadership responsible for 6 deadly attacks in Jerusalem that killed Americans. Netanyahu said the decision clearly showed the Palestinian leadership was responsible for the bloodshed, exposing its move to join the International Criminal Court to sue Israel as a sham. Islamic State militants have abducted at least 90 people from Assyrian Christian villages in northeastern Syria. The British-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the militants carried out dawn raids on rural villages inhabited by the ancient Christian minority west of Hasaka, a city mainly held by Kurds. South Korea and the United States will begin 8 weeks of joint military drills starting the 2nd of March. This is an annual military exercise that typically provokes heightened rhetoric and military threats from North Korea. In fact, North Korea regularly protests the annual exercises, which it says are a rehearsal for war, and has recently stepped up on its own air, sea and ground military exercises. Cricket now in West Indian opener Chris Gayle hit the first double 100 in World Cup history as West Indies beat Zimbabwe by 73 runs in a Pool B match today. The 35-year-old left-hander smashed 200 off 138 balls, eclipsing South Africa's Gary Kirsten record of an unbeaten 188 against UAE in 1996. Gayle hit 16 sixes in 147 balls before being caught on 215 off the last delivery of the innings. Marlon Samuels also scored a century as the two batsmen made a world record of 372-run partnership. West Indies ended their innings on 372 for 1. Zimbabwe were never in the chase as they kept losing wickets at regular interval but managed a respectable 289 runs. That's it for this hour. From the entire team, good night.